Being in love. How do the flaming passions of love come to flare? People claim that how we fall in love is elusive. It seems no one can offer objective empirical reasoning for how it takes place, why it happens, or why does our heart blossoms for that specific person. Though love permeates every corner of our history and society, it has always been shrouded in enigma. However, there are few unanimous opinions on the subject matter. One being that there is no reasonable answer as to why him or her. There is no recipe. It just appears or does not appear. The second unfortunate agreement is that no love is forever. How it came, it will eventually go. The initial fiery passions fade away, or at best transform into a quiet, familiar bond where the family and our children act as a gluing agent. In other words, we go from being in love to simply just loving. As Charles Bukowski said, a love like that was a serious illness, an illness from which you never entirely recover. Yes, this is unfortunately true for most cases. For relationships where the partners act without their consciousness and are led solely by their body's biochemical processes and following learned templates. It could happen differently too, though. If we are awake enough to be consciously present in a relationship and both parties are ready to attain the knowledge necessary to change these implanted programs of socialization into a way of thought and necessary behavior for two people to be able to live in true harmony and love and stay in love, so that they can create a unity. In this way, everlasting love can indeed become a reality. The point is that we must be awake and aware. We must notice if something else than other what we want or would like is taking place. We can only have a happy and healthy relationship and remain in love if both sides are consciously aware of the above. We must be ready to rid ourselves of our unwanted habits which stand in its way and experience changes together which can unite us. To fall in love and stay in love requires the collective effort of both people so that we can look at our relationship as a harmonious unit and not as two separate people. Although everybody fervently longs after happiness, it is very rare to achieve this plateau in a relationship because the two partners who start out together are on different levels of consciousness. Both parties must realize that their habits, behaviors, and ways of thinking has been built by their experiences and external surroundings. They must also realize that in order to stay together and reach an optimal state, they must go through a transformation together. So, what are we discussing exactly? I am discussing consciousness, something which many would find a foreign concept when speaking in the context of love. As I mentioned before, most agree that love either appears or does not. Some even go as far as referring to love as blind or crazy, a state completely removed from our consciousness when things just happen to people without them having any awareness or control over it. This rings true only when we are in a state of control by the program which has been embedded into our minds and we fail to utilize our consciousness. Another professional in this field is Helen Fisher, resonates with this outlook, where she states that love and being in love are only distant cousins and they are based on various biological processes which have different functions when it comes to two people being together. This is also true if we are speaking about people who do not operate with this consciousness, but let us contemplate what difference we mean by love and being in love. I do not believe describing the two concepts as distant relatives is necessarily the correct way of putting it, but we simply do not understand the difference, and this confusion is what causes the upheaval Fisher refers to. I could fill an entire book, or perhaps even libraries, with different opinions on this topic, but unfortunately, I must say that most of the experiences are disheartening. Countless of us have lived and experienced disappointment concerning love and the painful process of the dissolution of love, though all of our experiences differ. I myself possess my own experiences concerning the topic and have lived through them on my own way. Everybody has their own struggle with this topic, but this does not mean we should close ourselves off from the new and unknown, which could manifest itself into our lives in a positive way. The first problem being that while we may try not to repeat our mistakes in a given relationship, the majority of the time we unconsciously still do so. This is because we prefer to avoid sitting down and really diving into the nitty-gritty and confronting ourselves with what went wrong. Oftentimes, we avoid doing so because we do not wish to relive the hurtful details and digest our past or confront ourselves with the realities of what happened. By and large, we believe that love must come and go and cannot last, which is most people's experience. With this predisposition, we instantly remove the possibility of a different future, one where it could be possible to live in love and happiness forever with another person. If we want to simply illustrate the relationship between love and being in love, we can say that love is the basis of being in love. However, we definitely have to look at the biological processes which Fisher mentions. As we add these to love, the body's hormones, chemicals, neurotransmitters, and all the rest of our inner workings, it brings up the passionate circumstances of being in love. We must be consciously aware of the way that our brain functions and our belief systems and consciousness all add up and work together to predispose the quality of our love. So, what is the most important component concerning our love's continuity? It is being consciously aware of our thoughts and behavior so that the learned program can no longer take control over us. The conscious familiarization with our behaviors, our thoughts, and our biochemical processes. The critical point is that both people in a relationship are knowingly part of this process and both are open to communication and changes which result in the betterment of their relationship and joint happiness.